Welcome to History Snippets. My name is Eileen Kendle, and I'm an interpreter here at the Edwards House. And today we're going to talk about calling cards. Calling on friends and acquaintances is one piece of the complicated Victorian age etiquette. I became interested in doing the calling cards when an article appeared in the Illinois State Journal about New Year's revelry. In the 1870s, 1880s. They talked about going from house to house and doing a lot of drinking, and as they quoted saying, getting soused. And they talked about barouches having races up and down the streets of Springfield. So that in 2019, I decided to have an open house with calling cards. I had everybody that wanted to come to the open house to bring a calling card with their design on it. So that's what piqued my interest in calling cards. Visit. Calling cards became fashionable when printing became more customary and sophisticated. Calling cards and business cards are different. Business cards could not be used interchangeably with social calling cards. Calling cards were used for introductory purposes. They were used for furthering acquaintanceships and for other purposes. If you received a card with a time and couldn't make that time, your card would be returned with a word of regret. Upon arriving at the hostess house, the caller would be met by a servant or a maid. The servant or maid was not allowed to have a sour visage. The maid or servant would halfway open the door and have ready a card tray, such as one like this. Now, the card tray would be the first thing that the caller would see upon visiting and could be used a lot to explain the hostess status. Designs on these calling cards were usually simple and more appropriate, not decorative, not ornate. Both men and women had calling cards. And the calling cards were different in design and size. Now, married couples would have a medium-sized calling card because it was more tasteful. Unmarried men would have a smaller card with simple writing and no Mr. in front of their name. Ornate cards were kept strictly for more special occasions. I would like to read a quote. This came from our department or the manner, conduct, and dress of the most refined society. To the unrefined or unbred, the visiting card is but a trifling and insignificant bit of paper. But to the cultured disciple of social law, it conveys a subtle and unmistakable intelligence. Its texture, style of engraving, and even the hour of leaving it combine to place the stranger, whose name it bears, in a pleasant or a disagreeable attitude, even before his manners, conversation, and face have been able to explain his social position. Please join us next week when we will have another History Snippets about Victorian ages.